Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Leadership Den Lions podcast. Steve, I have it wrong. What is it again?
It's Lions Den of Leadership podcast, but that was close. That was close. We're getting there.
We're getting there. This is our seventh or eighth episode. It's really exciting. Steve and I are entrepreneurs. We're focused on growing our businesses, and we just need to, we'd like to find support from like-minded people, leaders and CEOs of their respective startups and organizations, fellow entrepreneurs, to come to the show and talk to us about challenges, and hopefully it helps us all start a week right and also grow a little bit from a leadership perspective. And today, our guest is John Bradford. He is an amazing person. He handles a lot of different things. Well, first, he's a member of the House in North Carolina. He started and continues to operate a large property management company. We'll dig into that in a minute, size-wise, and how he does it. But it's called Park Avenue Property Management, right?
That's correct, yep.
Yep, John. And then his latest venture, he started a .com, which is, awesome. Silicon Valley near and dear. We're very excited about that. It's petscreening.com. And John, welcome to the show.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Steve, for having me.
Yeah, and I have to mention my co-host, Steve Rozenberg. You probably hear him talk for the first 30 minutes of the show. But then if you continue to stay on the show, then after I take a lot of notes, I begin to sort of have my probing questions out there. And then we end up gelling pretty well, I think, if I may say so myself.
Yeah.
So, John, let's hit you right. The biggest question I have for you is how are you managing your time between these three fairly significant time commitments from a professional standpoint? And then how do you have the time left for the family? How do you do it?
Well, great question. I'm married, I have 4 children, so pretty young kids too. So I'm an on-the-go guy. So first I will tell you that I really try to use as much mobile technology as possible. So between my cell phone, which is a smart device, my iPad, I'm actually able to work and be connected all the time. So for me, connectivity is key. It would be very difficult for me to disappear without some sort of connection to at least check in and keep things running. And I don't think this is anything different than probably what the two of you do in your own firms. And then, of course, people, when I got my MBA, one of the things they said, people are everything. And I think, back then, I don't know if I quite believe that, but now I definitely believe it, that you got to have a team that can carry the ball when you're not there because, you're one guy, one person can only be so many places and there's only so many hours in a day. So having a great team is part of, my formula for what I deem to be, somewhat, success is a strong word, but I'm able to be remote.
So technology and team,
yes.
There's a lot to unpack here. Let's start with the team. You have a pretty, very clever and smart lady running your Park Avenue. As far as I remember, I think it's Jennifer Stoops, right?
Yeah, correct. Yes.
So tell us the story of you finding Jennifer and then finally entrusting the whole business to her, because she runs it now, correct?
No, she's run it for 4 years. So it wasn't like we just had her start doing this yesterday. So I ran back in 2007. I ran a personal, a little classified ad in a local newspaper. And I think it was a $55 ad for 6 weeks. And I think I had 6 lines, and I was just looking for someone. We're a licensure state here in North Carolina, so in order to do property management, you have to have a real estate license. So I was seeking someone who, was energetic and passionate for real estate and property management, and to contact me. And she contacted me. We met at a coffee shop. Ironically, neither one of us drank coffee, but it was the only place we could really find to go meet, so we did. And she was not quite finished with her real estate school, her exam and everything. So I told her to just follow up with me when she finished, because a lot of times these people just disappear. And sure enough, she followed up with me, and she was like, all right, I'm ready to go to work. So I was traveling on a business trip because I was still at IBM Corporation. I was a sales executive for IBM, and I was traveling the country. And I had this sort of hobby on the side. Really, Park Avenue was a hobby and more of a passion than a business at the time. But I was starting to add some people to help me, and she was one of my first additions. And I said, well, hey, I need some help in property management, because back then, Alex, we were doing brokerage as well. And sorry if you hear my phone. That's technology at work. There's something on my devices. Just ignore it. It'll go away. And so so Jennifer actually followed up with me, and she said, hey, I'll do whatever. And she said that she'd go to work in property management. And what's interesting about Jennifer is she had no previous background in real estate whatsoever. She came from the dental field, but she had an incredible personality, a big smile, a willingness to want to learn. And I would rather take someone like that all day long, quite frankly, than maybe someone who thinks they know what they're doing. And I'm not saying, I don't want to take away from those types of people, but I think it helped having Jennifer come here with an open mind. And 10 years later, she's running my company.
All right, so you got lucky.
And you know what? There's a little bit of luck involved too, I'm sure.
Yeah, 6 lines in the newspaper, and then I'll call you when I finish school, and she calls, and
that's right.
Turns out to be who she is.
That's right.
That's pretty lucky. But hey, we don't get lucky without trying a lot of different things and failing in many ways.
That's true.
Let's talk about your failures. I want to know John Bradford's biggest failure that you're willing to say on camera. Like, what is your business mistake you made? What is the big one that cost you heartache and money? Yeah,
so I would say when I started, so Park Avenue Properties, as the industry knows us today, as property management. I hired Jennifer in 2007. There was a journey from 2004 to 2007 that Park Avenue Properties had that was not property management, but it was more, we were buying HUD homes, renovating them, selling them, kind of the buy and flip model. We were also buying lots in coastal areas, North Carolina being here on the coast and close to South Carolina. And I had a business partner who was older than I was. I wouldn't call him a mentor. He wasn't that much older than me. Or I felt like that maybe he had a little more business acumen under his belt than I did when it came to real estate. So I felt like I had a lot to learn from him. But I quickly learned that I was the workhorse and he wasn't. And we did not have an operating agreement. We just had a handshake, and it cost me dearly because I eventually caught him stealing money from our company, and there's no operating agreement, and attorneys got involved. And I don't know. It was a, if I had to back the train up, I would absolutely have had an operating agreement in place, which I probably knew better, but I think I was in such a hurry just to get to the next deal that I never slowed down to actually put an operating agreement in place. So there was no formal document that talked about how do you break up when you break up. So that was a big failure because it cost me a lot of energy, a lot of negativity in my life because it was just a negative time. I wasn't eating, like I was depressed because I felt like, I don't know, I just felt like I was losing money that I didn't have to lose because he was stealing it. But I found being the proverbial, I don't know, positive guy that I am, I found the lemon, I made the lemonade out of lemons. And in hindsight, it was probably the cheapest, it was an ugly way of getting there, but now I don't have a partner, and I got rid of him, the dead weight, and now everything I do is all mine. And if I fail now, it's on me, and it's not on someone else that's pulling me down.
That's a very interesting observation. Steve, you have a relationship with Pete, and it's not always cordial at all times, but you both complete each other, if that's a good terminology. So you have different skill sets. He's more of an operator. You are more of a visionary. We talked about that a lot in our previous episodes. What do you think about that, Steve? How do you make sure you guys stay connected and well-balanced and have checks for each other?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. And I think we run our businesses, that way. And what Pete and I figured very early on when we started learning the system is that I am the visionary, he's the integrator. So we are yin and yang for sure. I think that is the reason that we're so successful is we're the yin and the yang. The challenge is, and this is very interesting because we're seeing more and more of it recently, because we have these team members that are stepping in, taking care of a lot of stuff. What we're realizing is the more that he and I have weekly or bi-monthly meetings to stay on the same page, the more we get along. The less we have meetings, the more we start diverging. he kind of goes deep into a hole of creating systems and procedures, and I kind of go off of left field saying, I'm going to go speak in Australia, or I'm going to go do this. And we start diverging on the goal of the company. So we found that the more that he and I communicate, more meaning like we actually have meetings. We have one-on-one meetings now every week. And we use Asana that we track what we're doing, the more we're in tune. Now, what we have found more interesting, and I was going to ask John about this, is the more that we have teams doing stuff, the less we are involved in the company as operators. So the more he and I are pulling ourselves out, looking at the big vision, kind of 1,000 yards downstream there, the more we actually are in tune. The reason a lot of times we would butt heads is because he would be protecting operations, I would be protecting sales and marketing. Even though we're both going downstream together, we were kind of smacking paddles, I guess. So John, how do you do that with Jennifer and with other? You basically have three companies. You've got your political company,
Right.
You have your petscreening.com, and then you have the property management company. So my first question is do you have a visionary and integrator type relationship with each one? And, do you think those are necessary to have?
Yeah, so, we'll start with Park Avenue. We talked about that a few minutes ago. So Jennifer is definitely the face of the company. She has a pretty strong operational background, not because she came from it, but because she came to my business doing everything, meaning she was doing inspections in the field to showing properties. So she has learned by doing, kind of a hands-on approach. She does have a person, his name is Brad. He's our legal counsel, and I do consider him very critical from a compliance and a legal perspective. So Jennifer has a sounding board, and the rule that we've had for the last 4 years is if the two of you do not agree, then you come to me as the tie, okay? And if you both agree, then don't bother me. And I can honestly say they've never come to me. They have figured it out one way or the other. Is the connection okay, by the way, guys?
It's a little jumpy. It's reasonably okay.
Okay.
If it continues to be a little jumpy, I'll ask you to turn off the video. Maybe that will sort of even things out. But for now, we're okay. John, I had a question. Do you use, because we are deep in right now implementing EOS, Entrepreneur Operating System.
Yeah, sure. I am.
And Steve was very instrumental to sort of talk to my leadership team about what to expect. It did scare them a little bit, but it's true. I spoke to other implementers, and the scary fact is that they say for most companies, like about 80% of companies will have some staff turnover over the next 2 years.
Sure.
Post-implementation. This is very scary to me because I really like the people. I think we got the right. I don't think everybody's in the right seats, but I think I have an amazing team. Like I would not want the leakage. Any advice on how to go through the process without shortcuts, but also keep the team intact?
I mean, listen, we are not agnostic to having turnover. Right now, we probably have when I say the best blend, I'm not taking away from anyone that's ever worked for us, but I feel like the team we have right now, we have a lot of longevity. And I think people have reached their point in their careers where they understand what they're doing. They're happy with what they're doing. I mean, I just announced, even though it's our 11th year in business, last year was the long session legislatively, so I'm out most of the year in Raleigh. So I didn't do it last year, but this year I announced a 10-year decade cruise. So in January, I'm taking my entire company on a cruise. And small company, we can afford, not so much afford from a financial standpoint, but you've got time out of the office, right. But we're going to make it work. And I think that drives a good culture. I know EOS. I have friends who own other businesses. I've got one guy who's going through the EOS process now. I don't know if that's the right thing for us. I have concerns with me not being there and with Jennifer running the company. I want to be careful. Sometimes these systems can be, they sound like they'd be very helpful. They can also be a distraction almost. And I think there's a balance. And I'm all about systems and metrics. Sometimes you can outwit yourself, I think. And so I like to keep it simple. The old principle, keep it simple, stupid. So we like to try to keep it simple. We're in the business of keeping houses occupied, keeping our properties filled, keeping our evictions low. and picking up new business and trying to retain what we have. And that's really what we got to go do. And we do it while we're having fun, because this business will chew you up and spit you out. And because someone's always mad at you. And so we try to do it with a smile. So I don't know if I answer your question specifically, but I would just say that having a good team who has good experience, and we have our own systems, but we haven't formally adopted like an EOS, for example.
You know, Alex, I was going to mention, though, you said a couple things that, in my opinion, as a leader, you're the leader of the company, right? So you're the one that the buck stops with you.
Yes.
You get the accolades that you get to be on stage when you make the 5,000 list, but also you're the one who has to talk to the shareholders that says why you're not succeeding. And it's interesting because I'm reading a book right now, the new Jocko Willink book, Dichotomy of Leadership. Very, very good book. I recommend you get it.
Okay.
But one of the things they talk about in there is you mentioned that you like all the people, right? You think they're all good. I think what you have to think about, though, is, are they good for where the vision of the company is going? You're comfortable with them, and maybe the thought of you replacing them, you don't want to deal with that and everything that goes along with that. But is that in the best interest of the company if they're not the right person in the right seat doing the right job and performing? So then it comes down to a leadership question that it basically boils down to, are you being a bad leader by keeping someone in basically where the rest of the company cannot excel because you're comfortable with them and you like them? It's a tough question to answer. There's no easy answer, but it comes down to a leadership question, not an EOS question, not like pushing it down to them.
I think listen, I always say, hey, this is a democracy. There's no handcuffs on anyone here. Let me frame this for you. And I'm not exaggerating. I have not been in my office, cabinet office, but probably 4 times this entire year. So, and I'm not exaggerating. Like, I mean, in my office, as I sit where I am right now, is 50 yards away from me. So this is not a commute issue. This is not an issue where I can't get there because of traffic. There's 50 yards across this parking lot where I'm sitting right now. But I don't go over there because I trust the team that I have, and I don't want to view because anytime I go, everyone wants to please me. And I don't want to meddle. The only thing I have done, and I did this about a month ago, is maintenance has always been just our challenge. That's a political word for our big old pain in the rear, right? And like most small firms, we have to deal with maintenance because we have to deal with it. If I could offload that somewhere, I'd do it in a heartbeat. But there's no widget for that. And so I went in about a month ago and led I don't want to say a strategic planning session because that'd be a pretty aggressive term. But for 5 hours, kind of a morning through a lunch, I led our maintenance team and the management team through a session where because I've been out of the business, if you will, I just started asking a lot of questions. And they honestly knew that I was asking because no. I said, so tell me how we're running maintenance here. So I was able to get everything on a whiteboard because I needed them to remind me, how are they doing it now? Because I haven't been there for several years. So I knew we were having issues because I have heard of some. So I was able to use that as a way to frame, how do we educate someone like me who doesn't know what you're doing? And I'm not critical of it, but then I was able to poke holes into areas where I saw exposures, and we were able to collectively and collaboratively make some changes and some tweaks, but we did it in a team effort. And my feedback from the office has been that was a very, very helpful session. And it sent a signal to my team that even though I'm a long-distance owner, I still care. Whatever that's worth.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, John, I think I actually had a conversation with Jennifer about 2 weeks ago about some of the stuff that we do with some of our teams and stuff like that. So I think that I believe that she brought that up to me, that there was a plan in place, because I was chatting with her about some ideas that we had and stuff like that.
Sure. Yeah.
You might get a phone call, John.
No worries.
Yeah. Maybe not. I don't know. So Alex, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, do you agree with that? You as a leader, is that something that maybe, does that come back on you?
So I believe that there is no bad Okay, if someone has worked here for 2-3 years, the fact that we didn't measure the KPIs and they've got promoted through the ranks, it means that they are able to learn the job, get really good at it, and manage the people to continue to do that work and get in a management position. So my personal belief set is the only thing I won't tolerate is laziness.
Yeah.
Right? If you're lazy or you are trying to put your work on other people and take the credit, I don't know if there's a word for it, John. But
complacent.
Right, and just basically those are the two no-nos. Other than that, my feeling, Steve, is that you can coach anyone to pretty much any position. Because again, we're a 30-person company. We do marketing here. It gets complicated, but it's not rocket science, dude. We're not, we don't need PhDs here.
Right.
Yeah, I think I'd pile on attitude. I don't know about you guys. I'd be curious what you think, but I'll take someone with a positive can-do attitude and a smile on their face and a willingness to learn than somebody who's generating negative energy and maybe even spreading rumors and gossip, or maybe staying in touch with former employees that just didn't make it because, quite frankly, they didn't perform, and it keeps almost a cancer in the organization. Yeah. And I'd rather those people be gone all day long.
Yeah. So, and that is exactly sort of how I think about it. And then, so the reason why I question was, and the reason why I worry is that we might get leakage from the leadership team, because those are the people that I feel are the right, mindset is right. The mindset is right, and we can up-coach them, upskill them. But John, while Steve is reconnecting,
I'm here. I just tried to see if I shut the video off, if it'd be a little better. That's all.
Okay.
And if do you need me to turn my video off? Because I can.
We're good for now.
Okay.
So I have a. Can I ask John a question while it's fresh in my mind? So John, I was going somewhere with this. So you have 3 different companies.
I do.
How do you, and Alex alluded to this earlier, how do you separate yourself mentally? Like, let's say I'm going to start another company. How do I remove myself from this, but still feel that, at some point, petscreening.com and the property management company, those are your babies. They live and die on you. Again, right. You fall on the sword if it crumbles.
Yes.
How do you separate your time and give equal time to them, or do you, or was it a culmination of you creating the leaders over years of education?
Right. Yeah. So it's definitely there's an inequity in time right now. So let's pick on Park Avenue and pet screening. Pet screening gets a lion's share of my time right now because .com, really any company, but I think .com specifically because it's a software product, not an intangible product. You have to be all in. I mean, all in. And Park Avenue, because I have, I think, a great team, led by Jennifer, who you guys know, I'm able to keep my eye off the ball and focus on pet screening, but I have my toe in the water over there. So it would not be, I think I would be doing more damage to both of my companies by trying to spend half of my time at Park Avenue, which is, I would say, a more mature business, and then half my time at pet screening. Because what would happen would be half my time I'd be viewed as meddling and messing up what the team's already built. We're at Park Avenue since I've been gone for a couple of years. And then the other half of the time I'd be given a pet screening. It would need more of my time to really keep it going. And in the end, I would actually be doing harm to both. Now, I start Session, which is the third company you talked about, my political career. I'm in Raleigh a lot once we're in Session. And that is a whole interesting dynamic because I don't really make a living doing that. I mean, we make $13,000 a year. So,
well, I was wondering what that is, but that sounds ridiculously low.
It's a pittance. I mean, there's no lining my pockets with gold as you might think when you read Facebook. It's not.
What I thought.
It's not, but it's a tremendous honor and a tremendous
service.
Yeah, it really is. And I have a lot to give because I'm one of the few non-attorneys as a lawmaker. I'm not a lawyer, but I'm up there making laws. And I think we need business-minded entrepreneurs helping craft our legislation and backing up regulations that are absurd and burdensome. And that's what I bring to the table. But when we're in Session, I do have, at Park Avenue, I have Jennifer and Brad. And my legislative role, I have a legislative assistant. Her name is Anita. And then for pet screening, I have actually grown a small team, and I now have a team of about 5 other people. So I'm starting to have in each one of those buckets, to answer Steve's question, a good group of integrators, to use his words, to help keep things moving. Because if it was just me having to do a third, I'd be doing everything really poorly, and it would be a much different outcome.
So let me ask you this: from the petscreening.com and the property management company, what kind of you are in the heat of battle essentially as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
How does that relate into the political world? Because are you more of an anomaly going into the political world as an entrepreneur, at least where you're living?
I mean, I am. In fact, I would tell you that right now I'm facing a re-election for my 3rd term, because we're every 2 years here in North Carolina. And I have a post up on social media. There was an article that was done on pet screening recently by one of the local media outlets here. And I took that article and I shared it. And the blurb that I said was, a lot of people running for office talk about jobs, but I actually create jobs. And I'm actually doing it right here in the backyard of my district, because between my 2 companies, I have 30 employees, and for a small community, I mean, the town that I live in has 30,000 people. The town to the south has 60,000 people, and the town to the north has about 15,000 people. My district's about 100,000 people big, and I'm right in the middle of it. And 30 jobs in our Chamber of Commerce is a big player, believe it or not.
Sure. No,
30 jobs is 30 jobs. That's economic wealth,
it is.
Brought into the community, and especially 30 jobs that pay well and keep people happy. Yes. And there's opportunity. That's it's important. I wanted to ask a question, and Steve, I'm sorry if I'm breaking your flow. I really want to understand 2 things. One is, what is your end goal? What is the vision here, Brad? What is John? I'm sorry.
Right.
I want to call you Brad for some reason.
Listen, I've been called far worse, and I get Brad a lot, actually.
Maybe it's because of Brad Larson. He's always stuck in my head for some reason.
I think it's Bradford. My last name's Bradford, so people call me Brad.
That guy's real Brad. But yeah, so John, what is the end goal? What is the vision here? What do you see yourself doing with these companies? What are you traveling to? And have you actually made that 5-year, 10-year goal?
Yeah.
To once you answer that, if you don't mind, weave in why you left Park Avenue. Like, did you just lost passion for it? Was there something else? Did you just have good people and you wanted to go political, build your political career? What sparked that move? Because a lot of business people, like Steve and I, sit in our companies. I've been here 8 years. Steve, how long you been around?
6.
6, almost 8. So whatever. and so John, where are you going, and why you and how you decided that Park Avenue can now operate successfully and I can move?
Yeah. So when I first ran for the state legislature 4 years ago, when I won the primary, now we are one step closer to actually winning. And in North Carolina, every odd year is called the long session. And we go into session January through the end of July, and you're in Raleigh 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday. And so I had to prepare as though I was going to win. I had no idea if I was going to win, by the way, but I had to prepare like I was going to. So part of me getting my business in order at Park Avenue was not a function because I lost passion for the business. In fact, that wasn't it at all. It was more of, well, if I'm going to be a good public servant and really do this job, and I'm like both of you and many of the colleagues that we work with, we tend to want to be the best that we can because we're competitive. And I knew if I was going to go to Raleigh, if I was going to win and do a good job, I had to give it everything I had. Well, that meant I needed to make sure that my company could run without me. So I really put things in place, and it was hard. I will not lie. It was hard for me to let the reins go. But once I did, it's been refreshing. And Jennifer, for the first time, I would say 2018, which is the 4th year from when I did this, this is the year where I really feel like she is acting more like a CEO than a senior vice president. She's out on the speaking circuit. She's got all her professional designations. She loves the company. She's always treated it like it was hers. But this year I've seen a real, I think, maturity in her professional growth because it wasn't like I hid my eyes and never went back, but it was a function of my political career. Now that that's running, it has given me the freedom, both financially and time-wise, to focus on what's next. And PetScreening.com is still a complementary product to the property management industry. So I haven't left the industry. I'm just now doing a different widget. And Park Avenue is one of my biggest customers. So it's full circle.
So I have a question for you here. What mistakes do you think, like now that you look back, right? You look at year one and you're like, man, I should, like you give her a task and all of a sudden you're doing it, right? So how many mistakes do you think that you made, and how did you keep pulling yourself out of it slowly? Because that's what all of us entrepreneurs have, right? We have challenges of removing ourselves from it. And you give an employee a task, you tell them, okay, this is going to be yours. You give it to them, and then you're like, just get out of the way. I can do it. So how did you progressively pull yourself out of that role?
Well, I'll tell you, even when I was leading Park Avenue every day, my decisions, I mean, they might have been the gospel because I own the company, but most certainly I didn't profess I knew the gospel. We did what we felt was right, and we made that decision. And if we goofed up, we were nimble enough to back it up and then turn the other direction. That's very, I think, critical, because if you hang on to the wrong thing too long, it does more harm. Sometimes you go, okay, well, this is a bad move. And we have not made good moves every single move. We just haven't. The good news is we've made by far better moves than bad moves, right? And I think as an entrepreneur, you're going to, listen, I have written checks or nuisance lawsuits, not because we were wrong, but because it was a damn nuisance. And we've written those checks, and it's disgusting. It feels like corporate extortion, but we paid those checks to get it off our plate because the negative energy will suck another thing out of us. With Jennifer specifically, I think the hardest part was now she's got it. I think because it was the John and Jennifer show for so many years, it was hard for Jennifer to get that it was now the Jennifer and somebody else show. And now she's got it because she has two people.
You have a hard time pulling yourself out as a leader?
I think it's easier now because I don't have the wheel anymore. But at the very beginning, it was hard. But let me tell you what happened. I was being accused, and accused is a strong word, but I was are we still okay on the connection?
We're good. Keep going. I can
That's
hear
fine.
you.
That's fine. I was saying
that. Yeah, I'm good. Mine was dying, so I tightened it up.
No problem. And I'm happy to go off camera. Just tell me what I got to do. I just think my management team was saying, hey, John, because I'm a classic guy checking in with people. Hey, Jenny, how are things going? Hey, Samantha, how are things going? And the problem is, I think my management team felt like I was cutting around them when I meant no harm. But what happened was, I think I was driving a culture where people knew if they had a problem, they could bypass my management team and come straight to me.
That's happening to me. I have recognized that very, very intimately, man.
Yeah, that's right. So my management team, Jennifer and Brad, sat me down. I had to come to Jesus session, and they politely told me to butt out. They said, if you trust us, you got to let us do this. And that was hard for me. It was hard for me. And I did it. In hindsight, I'm glad I did, because I very rarely get any issues anymore. But when I do, it's serious and I got to get involved.
Gotcha. What is, and this is for those of us who are looking to grow our companies, which I think at least on this show, it's most of us listening, and definitely the three people presenting here.
Sure.
As you mentioned, competitive spirit, and you want to do well in politics, you want to do well in whatever you hands touch, because otherwise it's not worth it. Why bother?
Right.
But tell me honestly, John, how was the growth of your company impacted post your departure? What was the growth pre-departure and post-departure?
Yeah, great question. So we did a lot. It's been not as our growth has definitely not been the same. I contribute that to a lot of factors. One, and I'm not being selfish here. I just think that when you have a company and it's yours and you run it, not every decision is going to be the same one you would make. And I think as part of letting go, level 5 leadership, you just have to accept that there's going to be some soft cost and some real costs. The challenge is, or the question is, the $1 million question is, can you sustain it even if decisions were made that you might not have made? That's part of making sure your team is growing. Our growth when I was 4 years ago, the industry was different. You had all these institutional investors looking for third-party management firms like my company, and we were in the heyday of picking up business. 4 years later, almost every one of those players has internalized. However, there is no doubt that we probably sent, one or two of those guys packing a little bit earlier than naturally would have come, and I think that was because of just some weaknesses that we as a company didn't identify and didn't properly address. And so we learned the hard way. And that's what I call a real life MBA. So I constantly tell my team today, forward, not behind. We learn from our mistakes, but if we dwell on our mistakes, then it makes, I think, for a bad culture. We need to learn from our mistakes. And at this point in my Park Avenue career, I tell them, let's keep the road, the car in the middle of the interstate. Let's keep the airplane flat, not going down, and let's try to keep the nose going up just a little bit. I know I'm not trying to be the biggest management firm anymore. There was a day when I was like, yeah, let's go take over the world. But I've realized that that's hard, and we don't want that for ourselves anymore. We just want to do a damn good job where we are and have a good business that we can all make a lot of money having a good living. And that's really what we're trying to do.
Understood. And I want to talk about the birth of petscreening.com. This is a big pivot from what you're used to. Let's face it, I don't know North Carolina intimately, but I don't think there's a lot of startups. It's not a really tech bed for startups yet. Right. Maybe it will start going that way because California, specifically the Bay Area, is getting outrageously expensive from a talent perspective, as well as and cost of living and commute. Yeah, it's difficult. So I'm it's spreading through the West Coast. We see a lot of startups moving to Oregon. See a lot of startups moving to Seattle, Washington, and sort of some moving to Austin. So some are migrating towards the middle of the country. But what sort of possessed you to do a software business? I guess that's a simple question.
Yeah, and I think I heard Steve ask a question. Steve, did you ask a question?
No, I was just saying, isn't North Carolina, don't they have a lot of technology going on over there?
In Raleigh, RTP, they call it Research Triangle Park. That's where SAS is headquartered and Red Ventures. So there is some technology, but it's funny, I am a .com, but a lot of the .com that the three of us read about, we're talking $4 billion valuations. These are companies who've led capital raises, 5-6 times. We are a .com, yes, we're a technology company and we're doing really great things. But I just view it as it's a product that I had this idea about to solve a problem. I think entrepreneurs are problem solvers, and but all solutions to problems don't necessarily translate to making money. So I've had guys. I have competed in inventors contests. I'm the kid that was selling you lemonade, cutting your grass all at the same time. So I've just sort of always been looking for a way to not make an easy dollar, because there is no easy dollar, but I put my money where my mouth is. And if everybody made money off their ideas, there'd be a lot of rich people out there, but very few people actually execute on their ideas, and they wait, and then somebody comes along and does it, and they go, oh my God, that was my idea. And it's like, well, congratulations, they did it, you didn't. And so I have wasted a lot of money trying things that have not worked. And then I've also put money in things that have worked. Pet screening is based where we are today. It's going really well. I think we have a lot of upside. We're a one-of-a-kind product. And I thought of the idea because of the problems that I faced in my own company at Park Avenue, and based on my legislative experience around some of the fair housing issues. And here we are. That's really as simple as that.
I think the key concept that you possess, John, and I think it's consistent across a lot of folks who are successful in business, is the ability to fail. I mean, you just said so yourself. You've tried multiple things. You made bets, educated bets at that, and not all of them worked out. Is pet screening one of the bets? Is it still questionable to you whether it's going to work out? Or right now you are in high growth mode and you're feeling it.
Yeah, no, yeah. We've got a home run one here, guys. There's no doubt about it.
That's really good. Congratulations, man. Yeah, I hear a lot of people talking about it.
Good.
Definitely. I just didn't know if it translates into dollars for you. Now I do.
Yeah. Yeah, listen, I take zero for granted. I mean, I really do. I mean, from my political career to business, and we have a lot of friends in the industry that took a bet on us, but now we're cooking with gas. And I mean, I think we have a lot of upside, and we have a long way to go. But where we are in our first year and a half of business is, I'm very pleased, and I'm appreciative of everybody. I mean, even Steve's company. Well, his real estate company, property management side, they use our product, and I can't thank you enough. By the way, but certainly we really are delivering a real value to the industry. And our big news, by the way, is just Friday we became a certified, or maybe I'm saying we are now certified as a integrated app partner with OneSite. And now OneSite is the product in the multifamily side, but RealPage. And now any multifamily company that uses OneSite can go turn pet screening on in their product.
That's like 50% of the market RealPage got. You know what I mean?
Yes, it is.
And
yes.
So that must equate to at least, I would say, it's got to be at least 8 million units or something. Maybe not that many, but close.
Yeah, I think it's in the millions. But for pet screening, all we have to do now is go find every OneSite customer and say, you can turn this on for free and use our product for free.
I have a question. Since I am sort of in a mecca of technology, let's call it, it still is and still will be for a while. We've raised few rounds of capital. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to grow as fast as we have grown. How were you capitalized, John? From idea to actual MVP, minimum viable product? What does the capitalization look like?
Yeah, so everything has been self-funded by me. When I came from IBM. I don't consider myself a developer because I'm not. I'm an idea guy, probably much like Steven's more visionary. He talks about maybe I'm a visionary. I don't know. I'm an idea guy, and I like to assemble the people that'll help me get there. So I went and found a development company that is known for being very picky about who they work with, and their business model was if they select your product, because they interviewed you as much as you interviewed them, then they would give you a fixed scope of work with a guaranteed delivery price and a guaranteed delivery date. Even if they went over budget and they showed you what it should cost, they discount that by some rate, and then they sell it to you for less, and then they give you discounted hours moving ahead, and in exchange for that, they want a upfront equity share. So I agreed to that concept and have zero regrets agreeing to it because it's a minor position. They own 20%, I own 80%. But they saved me every bit of $150,000 out of the gate. And when you're self-funding it, I mean, 150 grand of savings, then you still have to spend another 150 or 200 grand out of your own pocket. You're talking about because to build a real good software product out of the gate, it's $250,000 minimum. Probably 500,000. Well, yeah, I'm all about betting on John Bradford because I am John Bradford. And if I can't get me to bet on me, then who the hell's going to bet on me? So I'm all about writing checks to support the ideas that I have. But the idea of spending $400,000 for just an idea will make your heart beat and your throat dry. So this idea of saving a little bit of money to give away a little bit of equity up front to get it going made a lot of sense and still makes a lot of sense. And so, but everything that has come along since, I've been able to fund on my own, and now the product is generating revenue to now keep things moving along.
So you're not burning? There's no burn rate right
now?
Well,
it depends. If we were there is burn, but the burn is by choice because we're constantly looking at enhancements. And anytime you add an enhancement, it's a new functionality, which means we got to add more billable hours. But if we were to lock things down right now and just go into a pure support mode, we would not be burning. But we need to burn right now because we got to keep this pace going. And it's just yet another investment because we locked down the fort and said, let's just hold. Yeah, we'll make money. I'll pay myself back over time. But that's not the right strategy. This is a land grab, and we got to keep grabbing land, which means we got to keep growing our sales team. We got to keep growing our functionality, which means I'm going to keep putting money in. But the revenue rate of return in the software business, the multiplier when you go to sell it.
Right? It's 8X.
You know, right now, Alex, it's as high as 12 because there's really stupid money out there.
Really well, we don't always say that stupid money is going to be. You can't count on stupid money.
No, you can't. But I'm just saying it's 8 to 12, so let's call it 10. But that's a far cry from the multiplier you get out of a services-based company that works on a 1-year contract.
Yeah, true that. There's no question. But there's also a lot more risk, and
there is
you're carrying, right? You carrying that. And the second you pull back, what's going to happen is somebody's going to see what you're doing. And it's not that difficult to duplicate, especially if they already have the development team. And you know what I mean? If they're just looking for something to focus on, that could be. So you're absolutely right. Let me ask you another question, Steve. You want to ask a question? Do it, because I'm sort of like, this is my realm where I really want to sort of question a few things, and this helps me self-identify with what I'm doing.
No, it's good. It's yeah, okay? No, it's good. I just had a question.
One more. Can I ask one more? Ask one more, Steve. Sorry,
tell me, man.
Last one on the software stuff. If you had right now $250,000, well, how would it change the end? Like, would it move the end point by 30-40% closer? I mean, what do you think? Like 250 right now to spend on growth.
Yeah, I can tell you. Well, here's how I'd allocate it. I'd invest 30% of that in development enhancement, and the rest would go into sales. Period.
Correct. And so why not bring in an investor or couple? And the way we've done it, we had our customers, you know, if they're sort of more or less wealthy enough to be able to qualify it, I think they're certified investor or something like that. I can't remember. You have to have so much in assets and so much in income to be able to invest independently in companies like mine and yours. But this is what we've done. We've basically we have a lot of customers who love us, and I came up and said, hey, how about you put $100 grand in this thing? Right. And here's the business plan. Here's what it is. And so what do you think about that?
Well, there's no doubt that like right now I've got, you know, VC is not the right mode for us right now, but like, have you heard of Growtech Ventures?
Growtech, is this like one of those incubators?
Well, no, they're a VC firm known for raising money for technology, and they've done some big raises for household technology companies that we all would know. But like, I met with just so happens to be one guy in the community works for them. He's one of their partners, and he met with me and just said, "Hey, I'll lead a $500,000 round for you right now, and I know I could do it quickly because you're onto something." We've continued to get that kind of reaction out of people, but I need to be smart about this, and I don't want to give away share for the sake of giving it away. So what we're open-minded to, because I'm telling you, I'm having a lot of fun. I've never been a part of a public raise of any kind of capital. I've always paid for things out of my own. I've never been a part of any company going public, not suggesting for a second that Pet Screening is going to go public. But valuations, I'm usually valuing companies, property management that we want to buy, but this is a whole different valuation mechanism. And so I'm really enjoying the journey because I'm learning. This is like a new MBA for me, frankly. It really is. And I am eating this up like Pac-Man. I can't get enough of it. And so we're being circled by a lot of groups right now that are definitely interested in somehow being a part of our journey. I'm being very methodical, careful, cautious, whatever word you want to use, to make sure that when we do something, it's not about the money, because I have the capital. I do. I mean, I'm not money bags, don't get me wrong, but I've saved my money like a little chipmunk. And so I have the ability to continue to fund my endeavors, and we'll be unapologetic about it, because if we fail, I'll just go do something else and make it back. That's my whole mentality. However, there does become a point where I think there's smart equity investment, where if we found somebody that said, John, we can bring $500,000 of capital to the table, and oh, by the way, we can bring with us 50 to 100,000 doors that want to sign up for Pet Screening immediately. Now, not only do I raise capital, but I just took my valuation up. And when you're doing an 8 to 10 times multiplier, even though I'm giving away 10%, and now I'm down from 70 to or 80% to 72%, my 72% is more valuable than the 80 it is today. And that's the math that is kind of new for me. And so I'm enjoying it, but I think I'm going to get one bite at that apple, guys, and I want to be really smart about when we do it.
True. Just one word of caution. This has been really, really good for me, but I've heard stories around the Valley quite a bit. When you line up, even if somebody brings you 30,000 units, if you line up with somebody who doesn't share the vision for what the company is, and you want to talk yourself into it, like, you'll know. don't
you're
talk
right.
yourself into it.
I
This
agree.
will be bad money, man. Bad money, because they'll get a board seat, and you will start see this company going in directions you don't want to go.
I agree with you completely, Alex. So I would probably put another asterisk and just say that partner has to, it was $30,000 as your example. It's not about the $30,000 because I'll go get $30,000 on my own. It's about $30,000 and what expertise do they have and what relationships do they have, and will there be other people that follow them into the fire? And that's what we're looking for.
Yep, exactly, man. That's an exciting journey. I congratulate you, man. This is
thank
great.
you. It's gonna
be great. Steve,
your
turn. Go for it.
All right. I know we got a couple minutes left, John. I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Does it stop here?
Let's talk about my political career first. I get asked all the time, where do you want to be? Where do you want to go? And I would just say that this will be really silly, but there was a time that I said, I want to be friends with the United States president. I don't care about Republican or Democrat. I mean, I have my preference, but in general, I still think commander-in-chief is the most critical role anyone can have. And I respected Obama as much as I respect Trump, regardless of who I agree with more or not. And I've always said that I want to do a role where someday some sitting United States president knows me by name, not because of the money I give to the campaign or to their reelection campaign or whatever, but for what I do. And that was always a goal for me. And the question is, will I ever reach that goal? And when I reach it, what will I be doing at the time? Will I still be a member of the House of Representatives? Will I be, a member of Congress? Will I be lieutenant governor? Will I be just an entrepreneur guy? I don't know. And so I want to keep serving until that happens. And recently I upped my goal. I want to fly on Air Force One. I want to get a ride somehow. I don't know how I do this, but I want to somehow say, oh my God, I've been on Air Force One. I don't care if it's just to go fly 30 minutes. I would love to get on that airplane. And I know that you only get on that airplane when you're in a role where someone invites you to be there. And so that's a silly goal, but politically that's what I want to do. And I want to still have fun doing it. I don't want to be miserable. If I'm miserable, I'm out because there's no sense in doing it. On a business side, Park Avenue, Jennifer has all my confidence. My team has all my confidence. We are not going to be a 50,000 door management company. We are a couple thousand doors. That's what we're going to be. But we can make a damn good living doing that. And Jennifer can make a good living and have a lot of control doing it. And that's important for me, for her to achieve. So that's kind of my goal for that. Pet screening, my goal there is to just run hard, run fast, and be, I would love to go somewhere someday and say petscreening.com and someone actually knows what it is, right? We know what it is, we're the industry. But someday, sometime, it would be nice if, pet screening is being talked about in the third person and people know exactly what that is. That really doesn't have to do with money, but it really does, because if you've ever heard me speak at some conference, I always say I love money, and I know everyone loves money, and if you say you don't, you're lying. But I'm not a greedy guy. I'm a guy that gives back. I work hard. I believe in charity and helping people who can't help themselves, but I also want to be successful, and success is not always measured by money. But in the end, it really is, because your success does translate into sales, which then translates into money. So, but I have to have fun, guys. That's one thing. I think y'all know me a little bit. I know, Alex, you know me probably better than Steve, but I mean, I want to have fun. I want to be laughing and enjoying my job. And if I'm not, then I'll just go find something else. Even if that means working in the fishing department at Walmart, I'll be happy.
Fishing department. Now you're ringing my bell. All right.
There you go.
I think we got I'll come see you and we'll talk, trout and bass and what have you.
There you go. Yeah. All the above.
So I think I want to finish on this note. Do you know who Gary Vaynerchuk is, Gary V?
I do not.
All right. He's one of those came out of nowhere. Wouldn't call him motivational speakers, but he built an empire on just hustle, just straight up hustle. He was the first guy to do a YouTube video, wine TV show, what have you. And so he has this dream that I follow this guy, and he's a little out there, but some of his stuff is really, really good. And his dream is to buy the New York Jets. I mean, he built a $400 million marketing company that he sold. I don't think it's close enough. It's never near, like he can't even buy the Jets. But he talks about the journey. Like for him, it's the journey. So like, it's really interesting to hear you say that, hey, I want to have fun. I want to do this. I want to be, president, know me by name. But it sounds like you'll enjoy the journey, man, no matter what. But you have to have that destination in mind, which is actually I admire you. I actually don't have that clearly defined destination in my mind. I just want to win, right? I don't have the definition of the win yet for myself.
Yeah. Well, but wanting the desire to win is that competitive entrepreneurial spirit. And y'all know Bart Sturzl, I think. Bart. I don't know. Bart posted something on Facebook the other day, and it was a compliment, but it was my daughter was doing a ballet pose, and one of my daughters is a beautiful dancer. She's 13. She's ridiculously flexible, and she's dancing beyond her years, and she has beautiful lines. And she was doing some, stand on her toe, leg in the air thing. And someone said they'd give me $50 if I would do that for my campaign. And of course, I'm like, yeah, I need to raise money. So I got out there and I did this pose, of course. And somebody said, it was Bart. Bart said, Bradford never falls. And I quickly weighed in and said, trust me, I have fallen many, many times, but I've never broken a bone. And that's a true story. So I think, winners also stumble, we trip, we get cut, we get bloody, we wipe it off, and we pick up when we go. And I would have to imagine, Alex and Steve, you fall into that same category. We're determined, and winning comes along with that. And we lead by example. That's the other thing I'd say my parting words are, I lead by example. If I'm not willing to clean a toilet, I shouldn't ask someone to clean a toilet. And I'll do it. I'll strap on those yellow gloves and clean a toilet and not think twice about doing it. And I think there's something about that people like authenticity. They want someone who's real. And I'm not joking. I'll dig a ditch if I have to make ends meet. And I'll do it with a smile, and I'll be the best ditch digger there ever was. And that's the mentality I think you get out of competitive people like the three of us.
Very well said, John. Well, this was a lot of learning in this episode. Would you, before we finish, can I have your commitment to send us the ballet picture for the article?
Which picture?
The dancing picture with you.
Oh, well, yeah, I'll send it to you, sure.
All right. So, guys, if you're listening still, thank you very much. We'll have the picture.
Wait, we need our to-dos.
Oh, we got our to-dos. Well, we'll have to skip this, but we're running out of time, man. I got to jump to the next meeting.
Sorry, guys. I'm sorry it took so much time. Steve, thanks for inviting me. And
hey,
Alex,
no problem. Thank you. I appreciate it. It was good talking.
The guests are engaging, man. We make the show about, about learning and not about to-dos necessarily. But I appreciate you keeping me on, Steve.
All right, guys. We'll see you.
Have a wonderful day.
Next week, Alex. Bye.
See you, Steve. Okay, see you guys.